We've been open for 6 months at this point.
6 months.
A little bit shy of 6 months.
Sort of.
The legal structure is an LLC, which is
LLC.
limited liability. No, our website right now is exceedingly modest. It's just something that Vinny put together with a template, and we're actually talking with a couple of different people about re-engineering the website and making it quite a lot more professional than the way that it looks right now. We're overdue to get after that. Well, we have both been working in the restaurant business our entire lives, and the restaurant business is a hard business. It's a lot of long hours. It's a lot of nights, holidays, weekends. It's not easy, and we got to the point where we were frustrated by working very, very hard to make other people's business a success, and we decided that we wanted to do it for ourselves. So we had been discussing the idea of doing a restaurant ourselves for about a year and a half. But unless you get a good location in a town where there's an unfulfilled need, and you also know what you're doing, you won't succeed. So we've been talking about it for a long time. What made us finally pull the trigger and do this shop here was finding this space. And as soon as we learned that this space was going to become available, we started jumping on it and making plans as fast as we could go. And that was the catalyst. Without the space, it doesn't matter how good your idea is, or how prepared you are, or how much money you're ready to spend, or how hard you're ready to work. It's all for nothing. They say in the restaurant business that you got to make a plan to start, and then double your budget, double your time frame, and double the amount of work that you're going to think that you need to put into it. And that's wrong. You have to triple it. The largest expense here was renovating the space to fit what we needed it to be. We were very fortunate in that we found a building that had already been a restaurant, so all the electrical systems and the plumbing and some of the permitting had already been done. That saved us a lot of money, but the space was still very old and in really poor shape. And the landlord gave us free reign to do whatever we wanted to, but we had to cover all the expenses. So the renovation was the first most significant expense. The second most significant expense is equipment, because we needed everything, every piece of equipment in the kitchen, every piece of equipment behind the bar, right down to the furniture and the office equipment. So renovation's the most. Furniture, fixtures, and equipment as one lumped together category is the second most. Work your way backwards from there into probably opening inventory is the third largest, because you don't have a scrap of anything in the building. So every bottle of beer, every bottle of wine, every piece of food, opening inventory is the third most significant. We have 15 now. We intended, when you open a new restaurant, you're never really certain how busy you're going to be. And it's sort of a nerve-wracking experience, because you do all of this work and you get this place ready to go, and you hang the sign and you open the door and you hope that somebody walks through it. And you have no idea whether or not you're going to get any business. We built the model so that we could run the place with about 7 people. I was going to be the front of the house manager. Vinny was going to be the kitchen manager. We were both going to work 6 days a week and keep our payroll very low if we needed to. We were really fortunate. We got busy really quickly. We hired a bar manager. We hired a kitchen manager. 2 of us now as owners largely do administrative stuff, payroll, marketing, things of that nature, not focused on operations every day as much. And that allowed us that level of business that we didn't really anticipate. Grew us quickly inside of 2 months up to a staff of about 15. We have, like a lot of restaurants, we do the daily and the weekly record keeping and accounting in-house ourselves, tallying the daily sales, paying all the bills, writing all the checks. We have a CPA accountant who reconciles all of our finances on a monthly basis. So daily and weekly we do all of it. Every week we send all the material that we work with to him so that a professional set of eyes can examine it, make sure that it's accurate, and then he keeps a record at the end of every month of all of our financial activity so that at the end of the year, he already has it all on his desk in a nice clean package to send it off and finish our tax returns for the end of the year. Some restaurants will have a bookkeeper that comes in once or twice a week to do a lot of the more simple bookkeeping, but at this point we choose not to do that. We do it ourselves. We had a rough business plan put together that we knew was enough of a plan that we could operate with, but during the startup phase, we had to get a lot of different financing. We borrowed money from 3 different sources to open this restaurant, and each of those sources required a really detailed, formal business plan that they could study, so that even though they weren't restaurant people, they could sort of try to digest whether or not the plan even made sense financially and make an educated guess as to whether we were going to sink or swim, and ultimately decide whether or not to give us any money. So it was our need for financing that forced us to develop a really professional business plan, which is a big project. It was about 35 pages long. Wow. It's pretty extensive. Well, as a restaurant, you need, first and foremost, you need a license from the Department of Health to operate and sell food to the public. If your space has never been a restaurant before, you need to first get a permit from the Department of Environmental Conservation. That means that you have a sewer system and a water source in your building that can handle a big crowd of people. And once you get that blessing from the Department of Natural Resources, you can take that to the Department of Health and get your health license. As soon as you have your health license, you can sell food to the public. Most restaurants also want to have a liquor license. We have 2 types of liquor licenses. We have what's called a Class 1 and a Class 3. A Class 1 liquor license is a license to sell liquor, hard liquor. A second class license is what convenience stores have. It means you can sell retail beer and wine off the shelf for people to take and leave. And a third class license is for people to drink beer and wine in your facility here. So we don't have a second class because we don't do retail, but we have a first class for liquor and a third class for beer and wine. To get liquor licenses, you have to take the Department of Health license that you've already gotten to sell food and use it to create a liquor license application that you send to the town. The town has to give you their blessing to sell liquor or beer and wine in their town. And then if they approve it, it goes to the state, and the state Board of Liquor Control will send a liquor inspector, who's usually a state police officer, out to examine your shop, see what you want to do, whether or not you have your shit together, and if you're going to handle it responsibly, and then hopefully they grant you the license. So the biggest 2 pieces are your Department of Health license to sell food and your State Department of Liquor Control license to sell liquor. Yes. All 3 of our permits are on the back wall, which is Department of Health license, first class for liquor, and third class for beer and wine. You also are required to open 3 tax accounts. An income tax account with the state, an income tax account with the federal government, so that you can pay income taxes to both the state of Vermont and the federal government at the end of the year. Or if you're a big enough business, sometimes they make you pay it every 3 months instead of yearly. And you also need to have a license with the Vermont Department of Taxes to collect rooms and meals tax. So instead of paying sales tax like you do when you buy any kind of merchandise in a store, you charge rooms and meals tax to your customers. You collect that money, you don't get to keep it. You got to collect it at the end of the month and send it into the state. And that permit to collect that tax from your customers has to be hung on the wall too. And they all have to be displayed where a customer can see them if they come in.
Right.
Every restaurant's different. Probably the biggest difference is what are your hours? We're open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. So a typical day, we start at 11 o'clock. We open. We serve right straight through. A lot of restaurants will close down for an hour between lunch and dinner. We don't, because we're a real casual place. Sometimes people will wander in at 3 or 4 o'clock and they just want a burger and a beer. We want them to be able to come in. So day starts at 11. We do have an AM and PM staff. The AM staff comes in. They transition over at 4 o'clock. They leave. The PM staff comes in. It's the same menu right through lunch and dinner. So there's no setup and breakdown in the middle of the day. We just keep trucking, doing our same thing. And we close at 10 o'clock every night. And staff is usually out of here by 11.